Today, I'm going to take a break from the usual material, and I'm going to talk about mental health. And what gave me the idea to make this video was last week, I have to admit, I was pretty ill part of the week. Pretty aggravated, I should say. Not physically ill. Just aggravated, frustrated, sometimes discouraged, a little depressed, just frustrated in general. And I was talking to my younger brother, and he had sent me a picture of a Venus flytrap smoking a cigarette. Well, it's not smoking it, but it had a cigarette in its mouth, which is the thumbnail of this video, of course. And I posted on Telegram the picture, and I said that this has been my mood the last couple of days, which wasn't really an exaggeration at all. And what are you doing, Bo? Anyways, that evening, I talked with Pat and the fellers in VC on Telegram. Pat seen that I'd showed up, and he was like, hey, Southern, mental health check. Is everything all right? Everything good? I told him, yeah, everything's good. You know, it's just the ebb and flow of life, you could say. The burden of living. You know, as my great-grandfather always said, we ain't guaranteed no goddamn bed of roses. And you see among the general population, I believe, what we see is Big Pharma prescribing all of these SSRIs and antidepressants for things that they label as clinical depression, what I would just consider largely the ebb and flow of modern living. And what produces a lot of these sort of conditions, which they consider as maladies, clinical depression, you know, a lot of these things I think are absolute bullshit. It's just part of living. Now, of course, there are events that happen in life that trigger these things. You know, terrible things can happen. But I think a lot of these, you get heartbroken, depressed, discouraged, all these things. I think a lot of it's just fucking bullshit. And just a means, like terms like clinical depression, things like that. I think it's just a method that these pharmaceutical companies use to prescribe their fucking poison. You know, to tell you the truth, I would much rather get a syringe, fill it with methamphetamine, and stick the needle in my arm and shoot it up than to take any of these prescribed poisons. I would trust that. I would trust a street drug dealer much more than any of these goddamn pharmaceutical companies. I'm serious. You know, I'm only partially exaggerating there. The situation is that dire. You know, and we got to take care of our mental health. And in these circles, it is easy, if you've been around long enough, it is easy to feel frustrated and discouraged sometimes. And this is something that I find myself struggling with at times as well. You know, when you first come into this and you learn that our people are, well, I don't want to paint us as victims. You know, I grow extremely tired of the whole victimhood narrative. But you do, when you first learn that there are forces trying to actively miscegenate you out of existence, your progeny out of existence, when you learn that these same forces are trying to destroy your regional culture, it's easy to get discouraged. And it's even more easy to get discouraged when you learn that perhaps, you know, the ideologies of National Socialism and fascism have been utilized and used as tools by intelligence agencies, such as in Operation Gladio, the Years of Lead. When you learn this, it can become even more discouraging for those of us that are more, I guess you could say, ideologically driven. And perhaps the most discouraging, the most depressing, is when you learn that, at least here in America, there is a decent portion of the white population that I question if they are even willing or even want to survive. It can be very discouraging sometimes. And that's why you have to, I think, take breaks sometimes from this whole online thing that we're in. Because if you dwell on it too deeply for too long, it starts to affect how you feel, how you perceive things. It can beat you down, to tell you the truth. You know, that's why I refrain and refuse to post videos of minority on white violence. I want to see the opposite of that. I want to see whites defending themselves. I want to see them kicking ass, whooping ass, and thriving. You know, that's why I refrain to post a lot of these things, and why I usually try to avoid talking about them, because I done know the fucking score, like I've said before. What is it, Bo? Anyways, I've got a funny story for you, because it ties into the general point that I'm trying to make. You know, in these circles, sometimes, you know, I think people are too uptight sometimes. And myself, I'm guilty of this as well sometimes. Sometimes I'm wound really tight, and I have to realize that I need to let my hair down sometimes, you could say. Which, I cut all my hair off a while back, but still, the point still stands. And I think it would do young men in these circles, you know, sometimes in life you have to learn to laugh. Even laugh at yourself, you know, a little self-deprecating humor. Because believe me, I've been in situations in life, in my past, during the years of meth especially, that if I didn't laugh in those situations, might as well cry, you know, with some of the predicaments and situations I found myself in. And looking back on it, you know, I made it through. I can laugh about it now, learn from it. But, why don't you sit over here, Bobo? Why don't you sit right there? Why don't you sit right there? Stand right there. Anyway, I've got a funny story for you. And you know, this video is going to be a little more lighthearted, but perhaps as a sort of contradiction, it could be one of the more serious ones I've made. You got to look out for your mental health. And your mental health, your emotional health, your spiritual health, and your physical health are all intertwined, I believe. Now, you know, I think I was talking about ways to take care of your mental health. I think I mentioned that I believe that your physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual health, they're all intertwined, of course. And if you neglect one of them, you put the rest at peril. And the ways I take care of my mental health is by physically exerting myself, working out. Because although that takes care of your physical health, it can act as a sort of outlet, you could say. And another thing I do is I like to go fishing a lot. Go hiking up in the mountains east of here and elsewhere. You know, getting out in nature, in our people's natural habitat. I believe it definitely improves your mental, emotional, and spiritual health. Absolutely. Now, and like I said earlier, you've got to laugh sometimes. You've got to learn to laugh, because if you're so serious all the time, it will drive you fucking crazy. And you know, I've been guilty of this before sometimes. You know, the terminally online, you know, sometimes in these circles I wonder, and I mean, I've seen some people, I wonder if they are just online all the time. This can't be fucking healthy, okay? And you know, sometimes, I mean, I'm making a video here. I'm wasting time that you could be spending taking care of these things. Perhaps, you know, I wish that it would, you know, perhaps be a sort of catalyst to encourage you to take care of these things, but, you know, part of me feels guilty because maybe I'm just wasting your time. I don't know. But I've got a funny story for you. And you know, learning to laugh at yourself sometimes I think is important. But I've got a little funny story for you that happened over 18 years ago. A little bit of self-deprecating humor that ties into the general point of this video. The year was 2004. I was 17 years old. It was the summer in between my junior and senior year of high school. And my best friend and his mother and father, they invited me to go down to Myrtle Beach in South Carolina with them. I'd only been to the beach once in my life. Back when I was maybe 11, my family took a vacation down there. So I was pretty excited about this because my buddy, my best friend Adam, had told me about just how many women are down there at the beach. So we went down there in July, hung out with his family, went on the beach during the day, but that evening, me and Adam decided to go trolling, you could say. Not trolling as in the online term, but all I'm going to say is I was 17 and he was 16. And there's really only one thing that's on a young man's mind when you're that age. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure this out. Well, we went out that evening around 10 o'clock at night to the main drag, or the strip you could say, where everything was happening. Women were everywhere. It's a good time. And we ended up running into this girl that was in college. She was 22 or 23, several years older than the both of us. She liked my accent and got to talking, and she invited me and Adam back to her and her friend's hotel room, have some drinks. And of course, me and Adam are like, oh yeah, you know, we're going to get us some booze and maybe something else, you know. We went to the hotel room. She poured us some shots of Jack Daniels. And we got to entertaining her and her friends. Well, we were having a good time, catching a buzz, you could say. And after about 30 minutes or so, I started to realize, I nudged Adam and quietly told him, I was like, hey man, this is fun and all, but you know, I don't think we're going to hit pay dirt, you could say. I think they know that we're juveniles. And he's like, yeah man, I agree. So made up some excuse and told the girls that we were going to go back out to the strip. But as a parting gift, they gave us a 6-pack of Budweiser. And we were pretty happy with this. You know, this was a gift from the gods, you could say. So we went out to the beach real quick to chug them down, split them up. And by the time we walked back to the strip a few minutes later, I'm feeling pretty damn good. Feeling good, feeling great, you could say. And we ended up meeting up with a couple of other guys that we went to school with who were also down there at this time. Having a good time. It's about midnight. Walking around. My brain is a spinning miasma of alcohol and lust, you could say. Well, women are everywhere, girls everywhere. You know, I really didn't know how to act, you could say. And my buddies and me were walking down the street. And there's cars. It's the main strip, like I said. And there was a car, a Mustang convertible, probably a 2003 or 2004. Brand new at the time, of course. And there were 4 blonde girls in it who were, safe to say, probably out of my league. But that didn't deter me. As we were walking down the street, they drive beside us. I start catcalling, things of that nature. And they kind of looked over at me, and all of a sudden, boom, pow. I was walking at a brisk pace, and I plow face first into a road sign. Those girls automatically start laughing, dying laughing. In fact, all of Myrtle Beach, at least in that area, I believe was laughing at me. And I didn't just hit this stop sign head on, I plowed into it. In fact, it knocked me backwards. I almost fell down. And thankfully I caught myself, but the sign is wobbling. I hit it that hard. My buddies die laughing and take off running. I mean, there were people in hotel balconies, 2-3 stories up, who's seen this. I was the most popular guy in Myrtle Beach there for a minute. And you know, I could have let this bothered me. I could have let this got me down. I didn't care though. I was feeling good, feeling great. Sure, that was embarrassing. I don't care. But you know, I was able to laugh at myself because it was pretty... I'd love to have seen it on video. It would have been hilarious. You know, you got to be able to laugh at yourself sometimes. You can't be so uptight. This is one thing that I think young men in our circles could learn from, you know? Because we are in dire straits. We are in a mess, a world of shit, our people are. But you got to learn to handle it. You got to take care of your mental health. You got to do all these things. You got to display power over yourself because, as I've said before, how can we ever expect to project power out in the world if we don't have power and control over ourselves first? Anyways, I know this video is something a little different. Take care of your mental health. Take care of all 4 facets of your health. Don't forget this. Don't neglect it. Anyways, thank y'all for watching. Bye-bye.